Good evening and welcome to 5 in Hong Kong. I'm Erica.
And I'm Mishi. Good evening. Erica, how often do you go shopping?
Well, ever since the COVID pandemic, my family and I have gotten used to doing most of our shopping online. With web services becoming more convenient and online payment processing becoming more secure, I rarely go out shopping these days.
Then it's no wonder that many of my friends who used to run brick-and-mortar stores have been telling me that they're moving their business online.
Yes, small enterprises have been benefiting the technological advancement of Web 3.0 in recent years. The fintech sector has also done a great job in improving the overall customer experience.
And that's just the beginning. In mid-July, there was an event called Business GoVirtual Expo and Conference, where elites from the fintech industry discussed the newly enacted regulations on virtual assets, as well as other exciting developments in the field. Let's take a look. More than 130 exhibitors gathered at the HKCEC today for the Business GoVirtual Expo and Conference. The event provided a platform for tech companies and people seeking their services to meet and discuss how technological advancement in areas such as AI, fintech, cybersecurity, and blockchain could drive business growth.
And if you use our app to scan this artwork, you can see some AR model to pop up to show you how it is like.
We're hoping to develop more innovative solutions that is attractive for elderlies and to help elders to prevent against this dementia.
Dr. Bernard Chan, Undersecretary for Commerce and Economic Development, was invited to the opening ceremony as an officiating guest. He was very enthusiastic about the immersive technology experience section of the expo.
I'm glad to see that all the businesses, all the exhibitors, and all the visitors are coming back to Hong Kong. It's a wonderful scene to see that a lot of people are queuing up to get into our convention hall. Looking ahead, we are going to have a lot of opportunities ahead because under the 14th Five-Year Plan, the Belt and Road Initiative, and also the GBA development, we are well positioned to connect to the world. A lot of the investors and exhibitors around the world will continue to use Hong Kong as a gateway to showcase their products and services. So we really look forward to working very closely with the trade, including everybody seated here. Together, with concerted effort, I'm sure we can explore more opportunities for each of us, and along the process, we can help build a more prosperous and better Hong Kong.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's watch the video together. 大家一齊可以欣賞下喎，留意入邊嘅細節嚇。
We need inspirations. The technology change very fast in nowadays. And if we have the platform to provide them, they can gather and exchange ideas. They can meet up with over thousands of innovators, business partners in Business GoVirtual platform because it's a hybrid event. Providing our audience irreplaceable advantages, connecting people with more dynamic interactions. We hope that the people come here, they can see the technology, experience it, and also interact with it.
Fintech was one of the hot topics of the conference program, and the recently enacted regulation on virtual assets was discussed at one of the forums. Is it a blessing or a curse? Let's hear what industry experts had to say.
即係就算我哋呢啲傳統金融嘅人啦，一見到啲新嘢咧，我哋都要用一個即係覺得自己好蠢嘅角度啦，去解讀呢啲新嘢啦。
咁變咗當呢一個嘅變革之後咧，我諗大家即係無論係從業員啦、金融中介啦、使用者啦，其實你兩樣嘢係睇為一體嘅。而點解會發生呢個咁底層嘅變更咧？我諗係科技行得真係好快啦。
I think the industry really welcomed this new policy, new regime, because it is the first time that the Hong Kong government is saying that, oh, okay, we welcome this virtual asset industry. By having this license, then all the proper players, they can go apply for it, and then they can get the support from the traditional finance world, which is pretty essential for the whole industry development.
In the financial industry, one of the most important things is trust. In the past few years, we see a lot of virtual asset business in the world growing up, but then people are losing trust with them. But now we have rules, regulations, guidelines. Everybody knows, oh, these things can be done and also should be done as well.
所以全世界呢啲咁嘅公司咧，就揾一個認受性高嘅市場攞個牌，而嗰個市場咧就係香港。上年係發行咗咧800億。
Mr. King Leung, head of FinTech at Invest Hong Kong, represented the government in giving a keynote speech on the VASP licensing regime.
我哋係唔係麻木地去揾增長，我哋會保障投資者權益，就兩者中取平衡。
Around the world, somebody in this business is seriously looking for a place that can give them the credibility and also, I think, the robust regulatory environments to do business in a proper way. So that's why when the Hong Kong VSP regulatory regime was launched, quite a lot of international players are applying. Now, and is it something that is good for the investors? Absolutely. Because SFC has been really charging ahead in ensuring that the investor protection is a key element in this regulation. So therefore, once this is in place, then the investors can have a better peace of mind to invest into this new asset class.
As you may know, Hong Kong has implemented the Virtual Asset Service Providers (VASP) licensing regime on the 1st of June 2023. This new regulatory framework aims to establish a stable and secure virtual asset trading center and lay the foundation for Hong Kong to become an international virtual asset center.
That's right. Under the new rules, VASPs must comprehensively assess and mitigate potential risks, implement effective internal controls, and participate in ongoing compliance monitoring. In addition, the regime also mandates companies to ensure transparency, protect customer interests, and maintain the integrity of the virtual asset market.
Mr. Emil Chan, co-chair of Hong Kong Digital Finance Association, is here with us today to share some of his insights on this new regulation and what it means for the future of Hong Kong's virtual asset market.
Welcome, Emil. It's a real pleasure having you on our show. Let's jump straight in and talk about the exciting new development in Hong Kong's financial landscape. So can you give us a brief overview of the VASP licensing regime and what are its main components?
Well, actually, before the SFC launched such a regime, virtual asset trading was actually happening in Hong Kong for years. The regime actually recognized the necessity of regulating those activities in Hong Kong in order to protect the investors' interest. So first of all, there are different types of digital asset exchanges. So they are decentralized type and the centralized type. Decentralized means, they are nowhere. Right. So it's in the cloud and they are everywhere. So nobody actually know where they are. So technically it's impossible to regulate. So the other type is called centralized exchange. So the difference is that in a centralized exchange, the flow in of the money, the cash, will be tightly regulated and the outflow as well. If we are not using such a mechanism to regulate them, money launderer will use it as a vehicle to move the money in and out of Hong Kong.
Any new regulations, I'm sure there's pros and cons, right? So can you tell us more of what are the main opportunities that the regime will bring to Hong Kong's virtual asset market?
So, for example, in Europe, they already launched a regime called MiCA, market in crypto assets. So in order to compete with the other markets, so it is important that we have such sets of policies and regulation, to be in place.
Okay, so in your opinion, do you think the pros weight more or the cons weight more?
Well, it depends on to which party. Say for those early exchanges, they were unregulated at all. So in such a case, to them, those early market players on virtual asset trading, it is the coin. But for general public, or for the government, or latecomers, or the traditional financial service industry, it is a pro, to the traditional market players.
It sounds like it's no longer a game of only a few, but, opening to a wider mass of public. So we all know that the virtual asset arena runs on a global scale. In your experience, how does the Hong Kong VASP licensing regime compare to other similar jurisdictions, such as Singapore or the EU?
Well, Singapore and Hong Kong, technically, it's a small market. So we only have 7 million people. So we must serve international customers. To Hong Kong, it is, in order to compete with Singapore, we must follow, what the market is expected. Mm-hmm. To Europe, it will be different. They consider that crypto asset is a new asset class that will be quite disruptive. Mm. So rather than enhancing or just upgrading the existing regime, they set the new rule from scratch. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, that's MiCA is the new set of rule. They cover all digital asset trading activities. So to us, I believe that Hong Kong can play a role to connect the digital world to the traditional world. So to us, because China, the mainland regime or their policies are more digital than the rest of the world. As you know, Chinese citizen has been using digital payment for almost a decade. Mm. Okay, so but the Western world, we are still using SWIFT, which is 20-something years old, and we are particularly in Hong Kong, we are still issuing checks, paper.
Right, physical forms of payments.
Exactly. So we will play such a role to connect, this traditional one to the digital one. The digital one, particularly in China, and the traditional one is the rest of the world. So Singapore, I think, is sitting in between. Mm-hmm. Singapore play a very important role in ASEAN. I think we are not competing in my eyes. So we are collaborating so that when the Western world come to Asia, so Hong Kong is serving, the northern part, and the West majority countries are from the ASEAN countries. So Singapore and Hong Kong will cover, the whole Asia.
Right. And you're often referred to as a fintech evangelist, I've heard. How do you think the blockchain technology and other financial innovations can be leveraged to further develop Hong Kong's virtual asset market under the new regulatory framework? And how will the regime impact innovation and development in the blockchain and virtual asset space in Hong Kong?
A lot of people, they do not really understand Hong Kong. Even though we live in Hong Kong, we understand that, we are the superconnector, we are the financial center, but they do not fully understand that, Hong Kong has such a infrastructure we built for the past 4 decades, for example. First thing is that our currency, Hong Kong dollar, is unlike the other countries, cities. They are issued, for them, they are issued by central bank. Mm-hmm. Hong Kong dollar, don't you aware that it is issued by the three banks, Standard Chartered Bank, HSBC, and BOC. Mm. So if the money of Hong Kong is issued by the banks, but not the central bank, so we are quite different already, the first thing. The second one is that our currency, which is pegged with US dollar for also 40 years, since 1983, so we peg with US dollar. So that means our currency is already a stable coin. But the coin is not digitized yet. The coin is printed, or it's a coin, if it is a physical one. Okay? So I do believe that not only local Hong Kong people will use EHKD, the Hong Kong fiat currency in a digital form to trade, but also Singaporean, European, they will prefer our currency. Why? If in few years' time, we have a HSBC type of stable coin, which is technically cash. I can use it to trade with crypto. It will be a different world. I will prefer, I don't know whether you prefer, to use USDT. You have no control over, where their money is stored, or Hong Kong dollar. The cash, you have the paper form of cash in your wallet already. So I do believe that a lot of people will share my opinion that Hong Kong will be the center of the world again, particularly on the digital currency.
Well, it certainly sounds like Hong Kong still has a lot of potential, and we, of course, hope that Hong Kong is going to lead in this arena again. And thank you very much, Emil, for sharing your expert knowledge with us.
Yes, thank you. Hong Kong isn't only famous for being an international financial center, but also as a place where people can achieve phenomenal success by setting their heart on a goal and giving it their all.
With our international outlook, striving to be the best means competing on the global stage. That said, we don't have to take life so seriously all the time. Let's take a look at how a Hong Kong-born entertainer literally clowned his way to the top of the world.
Hello, Kenneth. I know you're a clown, and I see lots of cool props on the table. I know we'll be heading to perform for underprivileged children later on. Which of these will you be bringing?
Everyone.
Oh, all of it, okay.
It's not quite hard, but you need to be patient every day to do sometimes to practice. You can do it.
Okay, the fact that you can talk and do this is natural for you. Kenneth Ng graduated from school over 20 years ago and decided to pursue his passion by becoming a clown. He began his career by learning clowning techniques at theme parks and worked diligently to improve his skills over time. In 2012, he represented Hong Kong in the World Clown Association competition held in the United States and beat hundreds of international competitors to win the balloon sculpture category championships.
Asia Clown, we are multi performance.
Okay, like lots of different skills.
Yeah, for so many different skills. Compare the other country, the clowns to performance, it really specialized. They focus on one thing.
Okay.
Maybe a drama.
In comparison.
They feel I'm funny. Why I can do anything? I will say everyone can be a clown. Every time we do something to the kids, we need to have a true love.
Yes, genuine care.
Yes, that is really important.
Drawing from his own experience, Kenneth has been working to encourage more people in Hong Kong to pursue clowning as a profession. He firmly believes that the ultimate goal of being a clown is to bring happiness to others. He also founded the Red Nose Hospital Clown Association, which visits seniors, sick children, and people with intellectual disabilities to bring some joy and laughter into their lives.
Some children never leave the hospital and born in hospital. And they even cannot see outside what is the things and never have a birthday party. So we bring them the party and let them enjoy it.
Kenneth has been invited to perform at an event celebrating the 26th anniversary of the HKSAR's establishment. To prepare for the show, he will be applying his clown makeup and gathering all the necessary props before heading out to the venue. He will be performing for children from low-income families.
Of course, they enjoyed it. I'm really happy about that also. They have a joy and also joy for me also.
Today's performance was a local one. I want to ask you, how are you going to bring the Hong Kong Clown King title to the abroad world?
Next month, I will go to Shanghai and go to the Clown Festival like this. And maybe later, I will go to US also.
Wow, what are you planning to do there?
We will have a different country. Also, we'll do some carnival festival. We will enjoy and do some perform there. And maybe sometimes we have some classes. We'll do something there, and that is quite interesting. For Asia Clown, we will go to the other country to perform, communicate together, to work with, learn from each other. That is really important for us, because every country, the clown is different.
Yes.
And the culture is different. So the perform will be inspired so many ideas to how to perform more and learn more. So that is quite good for us.
Thank you so much. I think it's definitely important to expand the clown community. Good luck to your trip in Shanghai and also all around the world. Let's bring happiness to everybody.
I will. Thank you.
Living in a fast-paced city like Hong Kong, it's important to prioritize work-life balance. If you happen to spot Kenneth or other clowns performing on the streets or at events, why not take a moment to pause and enjoy their shows? By showing your support, you can help these clowns continue to spread happiness and laughter to those around them.
Welcome back. Living in a concrete jungle like Hong Kong, many of us spent most of our childhood in high-rise apartment buildings. The rooftop often serves as our playground where we can play games and enjoy the sun.
Well, in the old days, our moms would line dry the laundry on the rooftops too. As a place that receives so much sunlight, it would be a shame not to use it wisely.
Erica, I couldn't agree more. Now, in addition to installing solar panels to generate clean energy, it's also possible to set up a recycling plant on the rooftops of some commercial buildings.
Some companies are transforming underutilized areas into green spaces and turning their food waste into something that's not only tasty, but also useful and meaningful to the community at the same time. Let's take a look at what's happening on the rooftops.
In the midst of a busy commercial area with lots of people and towering buildings all around, it can be quite a challenge to find a peaceful spot to relax and enjoy nature. But in this amazing 70-story skyscraper, there's a tranquil sanctuary that's like a hidden gem, offering a serene escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. Believe it or not, this is a rooftop farm run by a foreign bank. Today, a team of employees came to gather crops and sow new seeds. Despite the scorching heat, tasting freshly picked vegetables straight from the soil makes all the hard work worth it.
我覺得係好開心咯，成個環境都好舒服，同埋我偷食咗好多菜，啱啱摘出嚟個菜好甜咯，好 fresh 咯。
This is Cicily's second time participating in the rooftop farming activity, and through her previous experience, she developed an interest in cultivating crops.
之前咧我都有參加過嘅，咁就係冬天嘅時間，咁我又想今次夏天咧又想睇下夏天嘅農作物係啲乜嘢。 最大嘅得着就係有農作物可以拎翻屋企啦，咁同埋真係可以了解到原來喺天台上面都可以種到一啲咁優質嘅蔬菜咯。
Don't underestimate this small plot of land. They have around 50 types of plants growing here. The soil is made from a combination of food waste recycled from the company canteen, shredded office paper, and compost from plants debris. It's a very eco-friendly approach to farming.
For this farm, we have the digest program with our developer and the corporate client. That's why we would collect the kitchen waste from their office to our farm. for the composting. And after the composting process ready, we could apply the compost to our soil. Actually, composting in the soil is the soil amendment, which could absorb the carbon in the atmosphere, which we could enhance our plant to grow. And also, it is the way to reduce the food waste to the landfill. In last year, actually, we reduced over 300 kilograms of the food waste to the landfill.
The rooftop farm was established in 2021, with the company aiming to reduce food waste by using rooftop farming as a way to address the issue. By doing so, they hope to achieve their goal of reducing carbon emissions.
We organize voluntary activity just like today. We have harvesting, and then the colleagues will come up to harvest the crop. So mainly we will donate the crops to the NGO and the food bank. We will also allow our staff to take back some of the crops to home so they can taste the freshness of the crops grown in the farm as well. We really want to embed sustainability in our daily operations. So that's why we would like to set up a farm to promote this concept to our colleagues, to reduce food waste daily, so we can contribute to a better future together.
Being in this rooftop farm not only provides a stunning view of Hong Kong's skyline, but also offers a much-needed break from the fast-paced city life of the concrete jungle. It's an opportunity to plant seeds of hope for the future right in the heart of the city.
A rooftop farm can be considered an urban oasis that injects vitality into the city. Apart from greening the built environment, it can produce fresh food and even help the underprivileged in our society.
I really want to start a rooftop farm, but I have zero knowledge about horticulture. I've really tried growing potted plants at home before, but they always end up dying. So I have a lot of questions for the farming experts we have on our show today. They're both from Rooftop Republic, a social enterprise dedicated to promoting urban farming. We have Andrew Tsui, CEO and co-founder, and Laurie Lowe, project manager. Welcome both.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Welcome. So Andrew, I know that you originally worked in the real estate and civil engineering field. So what prompted this radical change of direction to engage in promoting urban farming? And what kind of message do your organization want to convey?
Yeah, and it's actually from an insight that in the field of work, we're looking at the future where almost like 70% of world's population is going to move in cities. So a lot of environment or social issues would be arising from cities, and primarily with a huge population living in high-rise building compartments, it creates a kind of social isolation. And also with that lifestyle, like city lifestyle, you're naturally distancing yourself from the source of food. And looking at Hong Kong and other cities with 90% of food being imported. So for us, when we look at urban farming, what we create that value or the special solution is able to reconnect not just city dwellers with each other, with community, but also reconnect people with food itself.
That's true. So I think that that's a really good way and a solution to connect people again and also to connect to the nature.
Right. As we all know, space is at a premium in Hong Kong. Do you have an estimate of how much land area can be developed into rooftop farms in Hong Kong? And are the rooftops of all buildings in Hong Kong suitable for conversion into farms?
The privilege of a research conducted. For Hong Kong itself, we have about 6 million square meters of farmable space. That means the condition is suitable to grow food.
Right.
And the Hong Kong current farmable land is about 7,000 square meters. So practically, we could double the farmable area of Hong Kong when we utilize the rooftop. But of course, when we look at our city, when we visit the rooftops, what we realize is by the way of design or the way our city is built, not every spot is accessible to natural sunlight. And in a way, it's a little bit unfortunate and sad is that if our city is not built for plants, how are they actually built to suit people?
Right. And I'm sure with all the building structures in Hong Kong, it's a very complicated issue. You can't just move other buildings around to cater to one building. So I see the problem there.
Yes, that is true. So in terms of spacing and capacity, I know that some commercial buildings only have a rooftop area for several hundred square feet. So why do you still choose to set up urban farms over growing crops in rural areas?
The value in urban farm is not so much as the end of food production, but rather is a very powerful mean to engage end consumer, and through end consumer, each one of us, by making wise choice in our food selection, by knowing more about seasonability, what to choose, we are actually driving that change of our whole entire food system.
And I'm sure spreading awareness about our food culture really helps getting the public involved in this whole project. So, Laurie, I have a question for you. I know that you're an urban farmer and a member of the team that manages the largest rooftop farm in Hong Kong that is open to the public. So, what factors should people consider, especially people like me, when planning to start a rooftop farm from scratch?
Yeah, it's actually less complicated as you expected. So there's few some essential elements that we need to be aware of. So maybe the first is the sunlight. So you need a full-length sunlight, which means more than 6 hours sunlight for the fruit to growing. And then the next may be the wind exposure, because it's also important in Hong Kong summertime. So when the typhoons comes, you don't want your planters, all the veggies blow away. Right. So you need to maybe test or secure all the planters. And another thing is important is the loading assessment. You have to check carefully and have a licensed engineer to check to have whether how many capacities the buildings is available to load the planters.
So besides the growing condition, does the rooftop setting limit the types of plants that you can grow? And what are the types of plants that are best suited in Hong Kong's climate and environment?
So before setting up a rooftop farm or an urban farm at your house or commercial building, so you really need to check with the professional or some engineers before you do everything. So one of the inquiry we use every time we ask by the clients is maybe the pests, the mosquito, or sometimes with the birds problem, the issue. A mosquito come from the water. So we really need the rooftop or make sure your drainage is enough for the water to get out. Another issue is maybe some of us like to plant some fruit trees or some tall trees at the rooftop. But when you do that, you need to check really closely with the loading or what is the height limit of it. Urban farms and the rural farm are almost the same. We have some recommendation for everyone to grow in summer. So Hong Kong is the 4 Asian dragons. So we have the 4 summer dragons. So we have the water spinach, we have the marvelous spinach, we have the sweet potato leaves, and amaranth. So these are the 4 we recommend for everyone to try. It's very beginner friendly. Maybe you can try at your balcony or so on. So there's some few local species in Hong Kong. So one is from Fanling. It's called Hoc Tau Bat Choi. Okay. So it's one of the most famous local species veggies in Hong Kong. So next time maybe you can try.
Yes, there's a lot of selections.
And it's very refreshing to know that even in a concrete jungle like Hong Kong, it's still home to so many different types of produce. Yeah. So your approach mainly relies on manual labor, from what I know. I'm also curious to know, why do you insist on using traditional organic farming techniques in today's tech-dominated society?
Yes, so we are the guardian of the soil.
I like that. I like that title.
Yes. Yeah. So is the greatest gift from our nature, Mother Nature. So we want to protect them, and soil is one of the largest soil sink within our Earth. So if you imagine we transform all the soil land to all the urban area and buildings, there's no carbon sink for us to absorb the carbon dioxide. Another thing is the soil is creating a special flavor for the veggies. Oh. So if we lose those kind of unique component soil or the water, and then all the special taste of the veggies will lose.
So quite a few developers and businesses have enlisted your help in setting up farms on the rooftops of their properties or commercial buildings. So how does this collaboration work, and what happens to the harvest?
So we have some of the models. So one of the model is the commercial buildings. So they aims to have well-being for their tenants or well-being for their colleagues. For this kind of farms, we call the commercial building farms, the colleagues will come up to the farm and then they will help us to harvest. At the end, the harvest will donate to the food bank or the food rescue organizations. So another type of farm is we call the shopping mall farms. It's more marketing oriented. So it's mainly to drive the consumers or the customers to come in the farm and join the farm tour or so on.
That sounds very meaningful. And can we have a farm up there so I can get some vegetables when I get off work? I second that.
Yes, please join us.
Yes, please.
I'm sure it's a great way to give back to the community. And speaking of giving back, Andrew, I know that companies have been paying more and more attention to ESG in recent years. So is setting up rooftop farms a current business trend? And how do rooftop farms create value for companies as an ESG initiative?
From our perspective, ESG, again, is not the end. It's really the mean of achieving sustainability and resilient community. Well, in terms of environment, of course, just now when we mentioned, the soil being a great carbon sink, and urban farm also help to reduce the heat island effects and all this. But more so in terms of social values as well. When we invite the community to grow together, we build a connection, we build social capital. But at the same time, the food or the produce that we grow, we could share with our neighbor. We can also donate it to the needies of the society. And overall, it's actually contributing to the well-being of the person growing and the person receiving. But even in terms of governance, a lot of times when we look into ESG, we look into the impact that probably are done thousands of miles away. But with urban farm, then you're actually contributing and creating impact right at where you work, where you play, where you live. And this is a great way of giving back.
I love that it's really a win-win strategy that benefits both companies and, of course, the community. And it's a great way to bond.
And a different way to look at life, right? So, Andrew, I know that you've been running your social enterprises for about 8 years now, right? And I'm sure you've had to jump through some hoops along the way. So is it necessary to apply for a license to operate an urban farm? And are there any regulations that need to be complied with?
As practitioner, as being in this field, we do, or we couldn't emphasize more the importance of professionalism and the importance of safety. When we build a structure or when we put a farm in a building, to make sure that it's able to withstand the adverse weather or strong winds or typhoons, something like that. But at the same time, we are putting soil or heavy loads onto a building. So we need to make sure the loading capacity.
So how many urban farms have you guys set up right now currently?
We have built about 80 over projects in Hong Kong and 2 in China.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. So up to date, it's about 80, I can say. So what are your future plans right now?
I hope that with our effort and also the collective effort of the urban farming community and all of you, or with your support, we're able to walk in a supermarket or a store and see the Hoc Tau Bak Choy or veggies from our local organic farmers, and some maybe even from rooftop, and even some from our neighbor's balcony. And I think that's really, really a beautiful picture.
Yes, I would love that. So how about you, Laurie? Would you like to have all kinds of urban farms all over Hong Kong and all buildings?
Yeah, this is also one of my goals, but more I want for the future, or more my concern is we already know what is farm to table. So it's the organic farm directly to the table. But what is the another side is the table to farm. So we really want to close the loop. So we have the kitchen waste or the food waste from the table. So we want that trash or the waste to how we can reuse them back to the farm.
Well, I think you're really pushing for a great cause. So thank you so much, Andrew and Laurie, for telling us all about urban farming today. I hope that by gaining a better understanding of where our food comes from, we can all learn to cherish what we eat. And sometimes social change begins with our own actions.
Now, another favorite pastime that sometimes takes place on a rooftop is comic book reading. The 80s and 90s were the golden era of Hong Kong comic. Many best-selling series were created at the time, with some being adapted into live-action films that enjoy widespread popularity.
The images in our local comics and movies are an extension of creativity and the human touch observed in our society. So what happens when you combine the two mediums together?
I myself enjoy reading traditional local comics, and the characters are very lovable, and artists often use humorous drawings to satirize social conditions. Titles such as Old Master Q have been transferred to the big screen many times in different decades.
The government has organized various activities to showcase Hong Kong's comic-inspired films to renew our appreciation of the creativity of Hong Kong movies and comics. The series of events includes Tangle Between Images, Hong Kong Films and Comics, an exhibition which explores the influence of local comics on Hong Kong cinema.
Hello, Ms. Ng. What inspires you or your team to organize this series of events?
Comic books and movies share a lot of similarities. People always compare the storyboard in the movies to the comic panels in the comic books. So we would like to, through these exhibitions, to bring the visitors to a tour from 1930s to the present, to explore different art forms of the comic books and the movies, and their mutual interaction.
Hong Kong martial arts comics retain the local characteristics while incorporating elements of combat and fantasy.
Some of these local comics are also distributed overseas. This is a collection belonging to a very friend of mine. He bought it in the United States in the late 1980s. The popular martial art comics, The Blood Sword, illustrated by renowned Hong Kong comic artist Ma Wing-shing, was published in English 35 years ago and sold in North America, the UK, and Australia. The work was later made into a movie titled A Man Called Hero.
Another of Ma's comics, The Storm Riders, was also a big hit. Its silver screen adaptation grossed more than 14 million Hong Kong dollars at the box office in 1998 and was also very popular across Asia. The renowned comic artist attended a seminar organized by the Leisure and Cultural Services Department to discuss the interactive nature of the two mediums.
我記得應該係早期係睇《火麒麟》先嘅，第二次去睇咧就係喺阿朱生嘅小型電影院嗰度嚇，好接近我漫畫嗰個感覺。漫畫本身同電影係有啲唔同嘅嚇，咁但係如果漫畫創作透過電影，好多時都會更加將嗰個故事啊，甚至乎表達嘅方式改變，甚至乎有更加全面嘅表達。
John Chu, film producer of A Man Called Hero and The Storm Riders, was the founder of a digital picture company. He thinks the effective use of cinematic technologies will help local comics reach a wider audience.
So can I ask, what made you decide to combine both local comics and movie together?
I thought it was a very good idea to put to the test of Hong Kong content with special effects and turn it into a movie. One of the most unique characteristic is the way that they handle the Kung Fu movements and Chinese stories with Chinese background. The success of Storm Riders in the box office exceeded a lot of Hollywood movies that were out in that year. And subsequently, those Hollywood movie companies have a chat with me. What is the success of this movie and so forth? They want to find out. I told them it's really a local element, a local talent, a local content which is, and adding special effects to these movies which make these films successful.
我諗係回憶翻我咁多年嘅嘢啦，當然有好多我嘅舊作啦嚇，咁亦都睇翻一啲我未睇過嘅漫畫都有，都係香港嘅創作啦。
In the future, our archive will explore more possibilities and hold activities for everyone to enjoy so that the public can experience Hong Kong's unique blend of creativities and charm.
The exhibition also features an immersive space for visitors to crisscross the fantastical worlds of Hong Kong films and comics. Apart from this event, the Hong Kong Film Archive is presenting, from panel to big screen, panorama of Hong Kong's comics-inspired films. A screening program consisting of a number of films adapted from local comics, which will run until September. Be sure to come by if you're a comic lover or film buff.
What a lovely trip down memory lane. I might just go and revisit some of these local classic comics and film adaptation this weekend. What about you, Mishi?
Well, after learning so much about urban farming today, I think I might start making plans for my own rooftop farm.
Oh, in that case, you should probably ask our 2 experts for some advice before they go.
That's exactly what I'm going to do after we say goodbye to our viewers. Thank you for watching. Have a great night and see you again next week.
Good night.